Okay, so before I get into this, there's one thing that sprung to mind when I saw this album title at first. How awesome would it be if Animal Collective scored an episode of The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy? I'm just saying, it'd be hard to make that show even weirder than it already was, but I wouldn't put it past them. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Spinner Reviews, and today I'm going to be doing my first review of 2015, new album from Panda Bear called Panda Bear Meets the Grim Reaper. For those unfamiliar, No Lennox, aka Panda Bear, is best known as part of Animal Collective, an Indian experimental rock and electronic music group who've been one of the most acclaimed acts in underground music over the last decade or so. Albums like 2007's Strawberry Jam and 2009's Merryweather Post-Pavilion are considered modern classics by a lot of people, and for good reason. Neo-psychedelia, noise rock, some styles of electronic music, even some synth pop and new wave at times. It's all incorporated in a way that can really toe the line between the experimental and the accessible, in a way that for people like me who generally prefer the more straightforward and hooky side of things, can act as a real gateway drug to those more underground styles. Going back to Panda Bear specifically, I enjoyed his 2007 solo album Person Pitch quite a bit, but meanwhile on his 2011 one Tomboy, to me it really showed what can happen when the other major creative force of Animal Collective, A.V. Tare, isn't there with his more noisy and chaotic side to contrast with Panda Bear's more soft and atmospheric side. Sure, there were some good core songs on it, but the problem was that I could barely make them out under just the piles and piles of unnecessary reverb and extraneous effects. It's sort of a similar problem that I had with Animal Collective's 2012 album, Centipede Hurts, only there it was more A.V. Tare just throwing in these wacky sound effects everywhere, seemingly just for the sake of it. Fast forward to now, and we're starting off 2015 with a new and interestingly titled Panda Bear solo album called Panda Bear Meets the Grim Reaper. And to put it bluntly, this is easily my favorite Panda Bear solo album from what I've heard, and this might not be an entirely popular opinion, but I'd honestly, in terms of just sheer enjoyment, I'd put it up there with Strawberry Jam and Merryweather Post-Pavilion. See, even on Person Pitch, which again I do like, there are still a lot of moments to me that just felt really meandering and uneventful, or these 10-minute multi-part epics with only like one 3-minute chunk I actually cared about. Here though, everything is more straightforward and engaging than ever before. Now it's not a pop album by any means, and there are definitely little coatings of reverb and other effects here and there, and I can't say he didn't feel entirely out of place on The Tonight Show last night. But the difference on Panda Bear Meets the Grim Reaper is that the production never gets in the way of the songs themselves, and the songs themselves, for the most part, manage to stand out as memorable. You can just tell his work on the last Daft Punk album had a real influence on just how these songs are presented overall. And if you've heard the singles to drop from this so far, Mr. Noah and Boys Latin, then you know just what I'm talking about. These songs, as well as many others here, just have a lot more of a focus on the rhythm and melody, just repeating it over and over throughout the song, and throwing in these cool little pieces of instrumentation and little production tricks, but in a way that actually, get this, enhances the song rather than distracting from it. Boys Latin in particular has this really cool choppy vocal effect switching on and off between the syllables that gives it a nice bouncy feel up against these dirty synths swirling around in the background. These songs are just extremely well constructed with how Panda Bear just layers all these sounds. And while a lot of the songs do tend to repeat themselves and tend not to change themselves up all that much outside of build-up or bridge or interlude here and there, just the intricacy of it all makes it really fun to listen to all the way through. You could focus on different elements and find multiple reasons to enjoy the same song in a way that really gives it a lot of replay value, or you could just lose yourself in the vibe it creates. Not only that, but a major factor that helps make this album as, again, fun as it is the percussion. The drums and drum machines on tracks like Mr. Noah and Come to Your Senses, and especially Principe Real, are just so driving and propulsive, at least when compared to Panda Bear's other work. A lot of grooves that will just have you bobbing your head throughout the song, and helps make part of this album all the more engaging. Seriously, if there's one thing this album's taught me, it's that Panda Bear would be a great underground hip-hop producer. I can just picture, like, Danny Brown or something like that rapping over some of these instrumentals on a remix. At the same time though, this more upbeat vibe doesn't act as a crutch. Even when the percussion drops out entirely on tracks like Tropic of Cancer and Lonely Wanderer, everything else carries through it in a great way, and makes for some of the most dreamy and frankly beautiful moments on the whole album. The lyrics are worth briefly pointing out too. Now, Noah said in interviews that the main theme of this album is to talk about some of his recent life changes that come as he approaches middle age, hence the metaphorical Grim Reaper, but in a more broad and less self-involved way, and in that respect, I think he pulls it off pretty well. Sure, some of my favorite songs in this album are when he does go a little more direct, like on the lightheartedly self-deprecating Mr. Noah, or on Tropic of Cancer, where he's talking about his family underreacting when told that his now late dad had the titular disease. But Boys Latin and Lonely Wanderer and Acid Watch have this nice simplistic poetic approach to them that can be just as effective. If I had to nitpick, Selfish Gene is the one song that kind of gets boring with the repetition, at least for me. The interludes don't really do much to help with the flow of the album, and the decision to put two of the slowest songs in the album right next to each other just wasn't a good one in my opinion. Besides that though, I really love this album, and I'm going to give it an 8.5. If you've never gotten into anything Animal Collective related, and like I hinted at earlier in this review, want a good melding of the catchy with the weird in the world of Indie-tronica, then definitely check out Panda Bear meets the Grim Reaper. So if you guys have heard this album, what do you think about it? Do you agree with what I had to say, disagree, have any feedback about the channel in general? Let me know in the comments down below. Share this around with anyone who might be interested, like the Facebook page in the description for updates, commentaries, music news, and shorter reviews of albums I don't get to here, and hopefully I'll see you in the next episode of Spin Reviews.